Vinit. Could you open that thing? Hello guys, am I audible?
Yes.
How has it been so far for you guys?
Nice.
Some great stuff. How is the energy?
Nice.
I can't hear you people. How is the energy? Great. So hi. So I'm Maulik. I've been working now with Bajaj Finserv. I've got around about 16 years of experience. I started as a computer engineer working with Tech Mahindra, and over the time I've pursued MBA in finance. But being a techie at heart, I'm also back into doing some digital platform and AI related solutions at Bajaj Finserv. So all the app and web and all the pages that you see that Bajaj Finserv does and all the promotions that you see is primarily done by me. Thank you.
Thanks, Maulik. I'm Vivek. I head the Salesforce practice at InfoBeans. We are into providing services, and I have been in the ecosystem, Salesforce ecosystem, for the last 12 years or so. I started off as a .NET developer, C# developer, and then came here in the ecosystem. So yes, still learning, and gathering from all the information. I mean, all such community events, and I'm very happy to see the community grow so much in Pune as well as other regions as well. So I think NSquare Xperts and other organizations are doing a very good job of having these sessions also. So yeah, that's about me.
Hello, good afternoon to all of you. Very happy to see the young crowd over here, and also very happy. Parth just yesterday told me that in Pune we are, I think, the third largest community, right, Parth, in the world, after San Francisco. Yeah.
So eventually just got the news that we now are number 2. That's the latest news as of yesterday.
Number 2, wow. So that's fantastic, right? We all as Puneris, cheers to all of us. The community is growing. Something about me, right? So I come with 20 years of experience, and currently I work with Salesforce Professional Services as a senior architect. Primarily, I serve as a, I provide advisory services to our customers and help them with achieving successful business outcomes. I'm very passionate since the start. I've been working with tech and very passionate understanding customers' vision and how it can transform into a long-term value, and specifically leveraging Salesforce as a solution. So that's all about me. As per the industry, I work with telecom, I work with finance, I work with aerospace across geographies. I've served various clients in North America, Europe, UK, APAC. So I come with all the experiences, whether it's domain, whether it's CRM, and whether it is a client base. And I'm here very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you. That's fine. Anyway, my first question is directed to Mr. Vivek. Before that, we're going to discuss some of the pragmatic challenges, how it implies on enterprise-specific usage or use cases, and categorically discussing more as we go along. Then will be some of few minutes spent for a question and answer as well. I think you can take notes while you are listening to some of the answers and preserve those for the end of the session, for the Q&A session as well. So now we started with AI orchestration as a word and talked about hybridization of certain rules and how trailblazers or developers would need to slowly reposition in the light of Agentforce and AI demand for another. So now, how do you envision, to begin with, those like VAs, then administrators, or rudimentary development sort of changing the landscape, how they would be wanting to reposition themselves as they go along the AI journey?
Okay. So how many of you are worried that AI will take away your jobs? Anybody is worried? Nobody is worried?
So there she is, one girl.
then that's a good worry to have. Okay? I'm honest, I mean, I'm serious, because if you're not using AI, you will lose your job to somebody who's using AI. Okay? It's not about you using AI, job to an AI, but if you're not using AI effectively, then it's a problem. And in some years, I feel some of the roles are drastically going to change. It's not going to be a traditional requirement gathering role of a BA, who's taking down notes, what is the customer saying, or it's not going to be an architect who's going to start designing from scratch that this is how your data model is going to look like. Because all of this input is already coming now. All of this is now a starting point. So now you really have to use your intelligence to look at all this data and then work on that. So it's your traditional roles are going to change drastically. And in fact, we were discussing inside that some of these roles are changing even today. I mean, it's not that it will happen a little later. So if you are not, using agents right now, Agentforce for developers, Cursor, Copilot, whatever, whatever agents you can use in your current role, do that. Because if you're not catching up, it will be a challenge.
Absolutely, and very aptly mentioned by Vivek over here. We have seen the orchestration go along with the basics of every development or VA level skill sets. It will grow even more how the implication happens on how you formulate or monitor and eventually bring yourself to help of AI specific Agentforce positioning with your skill sets as imperative. That brings me to
can I add something?
So please go ahead.
Yeah, so talking about goals, right? I would like to add a few things. So with AI, right? It's going to be a productivity revolution, right? And that's why we need to reshape ourselves. That's the first thing, right? I see most of you, will be aspiring developers. How many of you know Agentforce vibes? That's a good 50%, right? The other 50%, I would recommend please go Google out, right, and look at that tool. It's a VS Code extension, which once you install comes as a default Agentforce license, and it gives you a chat assistant. So it is not about learning how to code now. It is about how you use the tool, right? So that's the revolution, and it's only going to improve the productivity in the product. So just right.
Absolutely. Now next question is more category of business impact or customer impact. Now Maulik coming from Finserv, and there is a lot of implementation of customer interaction that you tackle, and the load that is coming from both from the prospecting versus customer tech support and everything. And you have been running some comprehensive Agentforce AI-centric solutions at your end. So my question is, how customer experience, especially in sales and customer service, creates these kind of impacts?
So there are different answers for different verticals we've talked about now. So sales is very different, service is very different, acquisition is very different. Now, I will try to break these answers into these three categories. Now, customer acquisition is all about knowing what the customer wants, right? Now, nobody knew that we needed an iPhone, but it was visionary Mr. Bill Gates who knew that we needed an iPhone, we should not have a separate physical code. Right? Now, how AI is helping us is like from a Bajaj Finserv's perspective, there's a lot of data churning that the sales team do to do the segmentation. People who have been a part of marketing or understand how marketing works. There is a lot of data crunching that happened to understand, the demographics of the people, the likings of the people, their social behavior, their what kind of things they like, and then people segment. People try to find, okay, this is my good customer, this is not my customer. Now, with all this logic that is built now, and AI has also evolved. Earlier, AI was something you ask one question, you ask him to write a good song for my girlfriend, it used to write it down. But now it has become more intelligent because we are able to get it more data, right? Now, as and when this data is now given to the agent, and we make them understand what are my peripherals, what are my guardrails, the segmentation is much cleaner, much faster, and much better. So the first thing is customer acquisition becomes much easier because now I'm able to know the market much faster. I don't need to pay big monies to my SEO engines of the world or Googles of the world who do a lot of segmentation for digital businesses. That is one thing that really is there, because at the end of the day, an agent to perform, he needs very good data. And that's where I think now these being coupled together, a lot of good information is coming out. That is on the acquisition side. Coming to the sales side, right? Now sales is about converting the customer. I mean, people who are not into this, business domain are just trying to get some more clarity to their thoughts. It's about, you like the product, but you are yet to make a decision of whether you want to take that product. That's where the sales comes into the picture. Now, an example that we have seen of sales coming into the picture at our side is on the B2B businesses. Isn't 0% EMI or Bajaj says 0% EMI year one, right? Now, what happens with that is we are able to create much better. So, if I want to say, explain me this diary, right? Somebody will say this is a blue diary and it opens from the top and it's a blue diary. But how a Gen Z would like it? It's a flashy blue diary with a clock over it and something around that. That's where the customer, that's where the product explanation is very, content generation is very powerful now. So the way we explain things to the customer, to the Gen Zs of the world, is very powerful now. So the way I would want to explain a phone to you, or the way you see reels on social media where a person is there and the way they explain the features of that, that's all AI, right? So that's the conversion. And one last point on the service side. Now the service side is where the customer stickiness is there. What I mean by customer stickiness is that you might want to recommend that same product to somebody after 2 years of using it only because the service is good. You might recommend somebody to buy something immediately, that would be 1 or 2 months because you are just very happy with the features it gives. So from a stickiness perspective, service plays a long role. And what we've done at our end is, again coming back to the AI framework, coming with RAG and the other infrastructure, stuff that we can do now, it is able to answer the customer with a lot of empathy. Now what I mean by empathy is, a customer is angry. He's saying that a statement of account nahi dikha. So the bot understands, saying that okay, this guy is a bit of an irritated guy. I might want to play a role where I can show some empathy towards that customer. So we are training our responses based on understanding the tone that is coming from the customer. Be it voice, be it chat, be it even sometimes the emails that they shoot out to us. So where we are using a lot of AI is to continue the emotional continuity or make the right emotional conversation with the customer. That's where the service comes into the picture. So yeah, so I've tried to explain you where AI is really helpful for us and where we can go towards. Anyway.
Thank you both. It was thoroughly put, and you already see customer service how and your agents are being very promptly answering and helping with the knowledge bases. And another great point that has come to this empathy factor here, and it will get better and better to address not only the query but the sentiment analysis altogether. So now we talk about data, we talk about security, we talk about governance, and I think that question, with that thing that comes with very specific about how organizations specifically, Vinit, I would like you to share some light on this. How privacy, data and governance, or how companies should be looking at this factor?
Great, very good question. Right? So, AI, right? Whenever you talk about AI, security data is the major concern for any organization to adopt it, right? So, how to build that trust for an organization to adopt Agentforce or AI in general, right? So, first of all, if you talk about Agentforce and Salesforce, Salesforce provides an Einstein trust. So whatever data which is grounded and it's sent to the LLM, that data is not stored in it. It is still, secure, and it's an organizational data that is not shared to the LLM or rather stored in it. First thing, right? Another thing is, we all as configurators, we are all integrator partners, right? Who do the customization configuration for all segments for our clients. So we also need to adhere to some best practices to ensure that any organization data is secure. How do we do it? First thing is always ensure that you take care whatever access you give to the agent user, you follow the principle of a discrimination. That is very important in your designs and in your implementations. Giving an example, you have a service agent. Right? Service agent is intended to resolve service requests. So only provide access to place and account data. Do not provide access to opportunity, which is kind of confidential data for the sales agent. There is no need to provide. So ensure that you provide the right access to your agents, AI agents. Right? There are other things also to take care in order to ensure security of your data. There is a lot of sensitive data involved. Ensure that sensitive data, PII data of your customer is masked. It is grounded properly. So a few things we also need to take care, and that is what is going to increase the organizational trust to adopt Agentforce and
That was very insightful, and I would definitely like to have Maulik add something on, because again, the banking sector will be regulated. So what sort of any sort of specific use cases on the governance you would rather shed light on?
So I think to answer frankly, it's an evolving space. Yeah. And what we know so far is the enterprise agents that we are buying from different LLMs. One thing they have told us is our data is with us. They are not reading our data, and if they want to read our data, they will let us know. That's what they are saying, and that's the first thing. So what RBI is basically trying to tell us is that, so recently our CIO was invited to Bombay, where they had called the big banks and Bajaj as an NBFC, as big as a bank, to talk about where the governance standards should come in from an RBI perspective. So I may not have a full answer to it, but currently what we are trying to say is it is an evolving structure. The access is very, very specific to what Vinit just said about making sure you only have only specific data to be given to the bot or to the agent. And lastly, enterprise data is still being governed at an enterprise level. I don't think so anybody is giving it back to the LLM providers to train that data on Indian stuff as of now. So rest assured, I think government could still come back with very good governance framework around it, because they don't want agents to do a lot of confidential work. They might want agents to do a lot of laborious work or a repetitive work, which is where the digital labor comes into the picture as a part of agents. I mean, so far what I understand, the drift is to create digital labor.
Correct. So again, we're talking about having governance adaptation. In your case, you're speaking with a lot of enterprises, talking about understanding psychologies of what it comes down to an investment centricity. We know there's here and there a bit. Everybody wants everything, but there's definitely investment centricity around it. What is your understanding so far on the enterprise psychology on adapting and generating ROI out of it? Or how this should be? It should be like understatement, overstatement, or how companies usually look at the ROI part when it comes down to AI journey specifically.
So the ROI part changes from industry to industry, organization to organization. Okay, the whole mentality is not about cost. How much cost have you put into licenses, implementation, and how much cost are you getting out of that implementation. If you're looking at ROI from that perspective, then it is not entirely true, because all of you are using ChatGPT or Gemini or some AI tool in your daily life, right? But if you look at it, have you got more work done, more productivity? Those are smaller things that improve over time. So ROI may not be only in terms of cost, but ROI is also in terms of your productivity. It improves, probably if the teams are spending 12 hours a day, now the teams are spending 8 hours a day, which is normal. Okay, that itself is an ROI. And it is very, very important, I think, for any AI project to benchmark first. Okay, lot of times what we do is we don't even know what the past was. If we don't know what the past was, what the present is, before we get into AI, if we don't benchmark it, then at the end we will not be able to measure against something that this is how far we have come. A lot of AI initiatives don't get the value only because we are not benchmarked it properly. It may be getting you results on the ground. You can see that there is employee happiness, there is a lot of other factors which is improving around because of AI, but only because you did not benchmark those things. Now you are looking at ROI and you are only looking at cost. That I spent this much on licenses, I spent this much on implementation, and this is my business outcome. So ROI has to be taking into account a lot of other things as well, not just the cost factor. And mature organizations do that.
That's correct. And I think it will be a quantization of how it eventually takes you to the automation part, what eventually putting your cost towards the utility it's creating, and of course not to be left behind with such a prominent factorial of AI and Agentforce with of course Salesforce specifically. Now, Vinit, your take on this?
So, yeah, I agree with you. ROI is not something you always look in terms of dollars or revenue, right? At least for the short term. Long term, yes, definitely yes. AI is going to be a game changer. It's going to give you ROI in terms of for any purposes. But in short term, as you said, ROI, right? Look in terms of employee satisfaction. Look in terms of CSAT score, right? Look in terms of operational gains an organization is getting. So that's my take.
Now, Maulik specifically, in your case, Bajaj is using Agentforce, and there are definitely use cases that have changed for you. When you talk about ROI, how you would put that thing into perspective, how things have changed from the earlier journey versus now you implemented Agentforce and some of the automations?
See, I will answer this with two metrics. ROI is a throughput, so we are able to do twice the tasks more than we were able to do. That's one ROI for me. And the other ROI which we are talking about is from a revenue and perspective. I think that will mature in at least next 2 to 3 years, the way I see it. Because today also AI is adopted partially. It is adopted, let's assume if you have a business process, if you have 10-step business process, AI might be in 1 or 2 for now. Yeah, it's not in the whole stack, or let's assume at a larger stack of 8 to 9 steps done with agents. Unless and until that is not done, we can only say about is that ROI conversation is primitive for now from a revenue perspective. But what we have started to see is, again coming back to the digital labor conversation, is the tasks which are mundane, the tasks which don't, let's assume, give the people that level of kick to do it day in, day out, and where you still need to do it. I think agents create a lot of good perspective, and that's where you will start taking out that workforce which you believe is not needed as a part of your company strategy because the machine is able to do it.
So in that same context, the same question, but a different context in specifically Salesforce, consulting, and an enterprise. Now, I'll start with Maulik in this case. How you would see Agentforce making that difference on the enterprise workout in next 3 years? So I wanted to answer that with your implicative use case on an enterprise level.
See, I will give it as an agent level. Agentforce is one of the orchestrators in the industry. There are many other similar orchestrators. The way I see agent, okay, agent in the machine means agent not on the ground. I mean, in a simple language, that's what I would really put it. If you have an agent in the machine, you don't need the person. And from a 3 to 4 years of thing, the way I see it is, at least for an IT as an industry, if I would want to just keep to the scope of NSquare, where we're building new technologies or we're building new, stuff for our clients, I think agents would be your buddies in the long run. They are going to do a lot of work for you, and you are going to get agents that do a lot of work for your clients, basically. What I'm trying to tell you, so you eventually would be agent builders. And coming back to that conversation, because of the way the low-code, no-code kind of, I would say, adoption is more coming into the fore now, the domain guys, the business guys, they might not need tech teams going forward. They might make the agents on their own, and they might be even able to deploy it on their own. So what I'm trying to say is there is going to be somewhere in the horizon where you will see a lot of melting Chinese walls between the role demarcation that we see today. So that's where I would say from a perspective.
So, Vivek, your take on this?
I 100% agree with what Maulik said here, because Agentforce is going to make things a lot more productive. You'll see a lot of efficiency throughout in whatever you are doing, but you still have to retain your brand. You still have to connect with your customers. You still have to, have that human in the loop to touch base with everywhere, and that is where our focus will have to change. That we use those as real assistants, and we focus on something more which is more valuable to our organization or our brand. That if our brand is more towards customers, we connect more. So I think Agentforce is only going to help, and not just Agentforce, like other agents also. It's all going to help all of us.
While saying the case of Balagangadharan to one more example, I want to also address the readiness part. So if Agentforce is there, Salesforce is a huge pie chart of Salesforce different companies, and what is the dependency, and how, when we talk about having Agentforce being built up it after 3 years or as the day goes for that matter, so what is the readiness factor? Why to answer that, you can appreciate some light on the readiness factor to the enterprise level?
Yeah, a good question. Preparedness and the readiness, right? Because AI is there to see, right? So today, the question which we ask to the corporates are that are you leveraging AI, right? But 3 years down the line, it will be more of are you leveraging AI better than your competitors? Now, 3 years down the line, if that is the question, then any organization corporate has to be ready for it. Because AI is there to stay. Now, what is that readiness? I think there are 3 bullet points where we need to be ready. First is data quality. It is said that your agent is as good as the data you have. Right? So it is very important. All organizations focus on the data quality and the governance. I can quote an example. Let's say there are duplicate contacts in your organization's database. Now you feed in to the LLM, right, a duplicate contact. Will that not hallucinate? It will, right? So data quality is one of the most important preparedness for any organization. Second is the literacy part. All employees will have to accept and prepare themselves, train themselves onto the AI education. So all have to be trained. These are, I think, 2 major factors I think should be one should prepare. And then the third one, right, which another important is you talked about the governance and the regulatory things, right? So, I mean the regulatory part definitely all industries have to, now the regulatory is very legacy. Even AI has come into this, into the industry. So the regulatory has to change. Plus, all organizations have their own security frameworks, architectural governance frameworks. So there has to be a change into that framework. And that is where, some of us who are public architects will play a very, very important role. Because we have to step up, we have to take those leadership roles in our organizations, where we can play the role of an AI governance lead or an AI security lead and revamp all these governance frameworks. And that is where all of us and organizations have to prepare.
Correct. I think with that context, we definitely concur. Readiness is one part, but again, why I would want Vivek and Maulik also to share some where I would want to continue for as of now. Let me realistic. When we talk about everything is imaginatively fantastic when it comes down to all the data, when it comes down to AI and implications whatsoever. So if in a situation, the first year, if there is something as being deployed on the organization or AI, what sort of expectations, realistic expectations in organizations keep? And what are maybe some of the checklists that will requisite that expectations? I think we can continue others, Vivek can take it up and get it more. This is what everyone.
Interesting, because 1 year is a very interesting time frame because it's like me saying if I join a gym, will I lose weight in 1 year? It is not possible if you do not follow a process, if you are not ready for it, if you have not changed your mindset for it. Okay, so in 1 year's time, I think the focus first is a lot of organizations that do not go with readiness face challenges. If they have not taken care of data quality and all of those things, then you are going to face challenges. But you are going to see, it's an evolving process. It's not that day one mein gaye and you saw 95% accuracy. You start at 80%. You refine your prompts. You see that what all needs to change. Then you slowly get to 90, 95, and then you say, okay, I've got to a stage where AI is working for me. The ROIs are working. So it's not that so expectations have to be set well. That what is your expectation that you are going to get? Only then you are going to be satisfied with what comes after 1 year.
I mean, if I want to answer, नहीं चलेगा पहले साथ में, बहुत मेहनत है. Because सबसे पहले I think the way we learn at Bajaj, I think पहले हम dated 2 पेज का prompt लिखते थे. And कभी-कभी वो prompt repetitive भी हो जाता था. So for us to come to from 1.5 to 2 page prompt to 1 paragraph of a prompt and with a better output, it took time. And I would say the mindset that you have to basically go with is you should consider LLM knows nothing. And how much you want to build an LLM is like how you raise a kid. A kid is, how would I say, is अगर 3 साल का बच्चा है, अगर बातें करता है पर चलता नहीं तो माँ बाप को चलता नहीं उसका टेंशन होता है. फिर अगर वो 5 साल का हो जाता है, चलता भी है, बोलता भी है, पर शायद भागता नहीं तो माँ बाप को उसका टेंशन होता है. So what I'm trying to say is it's never going to be ready. What you have to first mark is what you want it to do first. So the way I have seen it is a lot of agents and a lot of AI solutions we built is it is not there where we want it to be. But I can say हाँ वो 2 साल का हो चुका है, ये 5 साल का हो चुका है, ये 8 साल का हो चुका है, ये 12 साल का हो चुका है. So it's not a 1 year conversation. It's where your goal is for this time and how you want to go forward.
Yeah, so I agree with all of these ones. And then, see, eventually the AI agents will mature, right? But there are limitations, and we have accepted for the near term. So how do you utilize these agents, right? The agents should only be serving as assistants and not decision makers, right? So always have that when, if you are an architect, keep in mind the human element when you are implementing or deploying an agent. There should always be a human in the loop design which you should implement. So I can give you an example. Today we have aeroplanes, right, which fly in the autopilot mode, right? Still there are 2 human pilots there, right? While there is no turbulence, it is not a takeoff or a landing, it runs in autopilot, right? But we still have 2 human pilots. Why? Because at the times of turbulence, or it is a takeoff or a landing, it is the human which takes the control, it is not the autopilot. Similarly, when we implement our AI agents, right, ensure any decision making or anything which has to do with financials, agent can only give a suggestion, and AI agent gives a suggestion. It is the human which takes the decision. That is the limitation, and we should kind of use AI agent as a digital assistant and not a decision maker. Please be careful.
So, a very good point. So, I'll tell you how we implemented one of these human in the loop story. So, on Bajaj Finserv.in domain, we have 1 lakh pages, okay, web pages, and of those, there are around about 500-600 pages, which are core business pages, where we have given all the policies regarding our products, all loan products, all investment products, insurance products, health products, and which is very regulated driven. So the rate of interest that we put, the processing fees that we put, the revenue, how the repo is going to be calculated if there is an increase or decrease in RBI. All of that is very regulatory driven, and RBI continuously scans our pages. Now, what we are trying to develop is more of a view where I want to change a page based on some Google recommendation which says that my ranking has gone down in the page. You guys are aware of ranking?
Yes.
The first page that comes is rank 1, right? Now, if we get something which says that, okay, this page has gone down, and because your competitor who has basically taken the URL spot for you has entered much better and relevant content, let's assume related to a personal loan for honeymoon. Let's put it in this way. Yeah? And my page goes down. So I'm first ranking, I come back to third rank. Now, the Google recommendation says that I need to change some tags, some SEO parameters, and get a better English to cover certain other parts. That can be done with the help of a content generating agent, where it generates the English. We just validate it with respect to the logos and SEO parameters and other parameters, and it's a low risk for me. So it goes into the loop, it updates, and the page gets updated and published onto the net. And maybe in a week's time, my page ranks again the best. Right? But now coming to a problem where I have to check the rate of FT. Now this is also can be driven by an agent, right? But I can't let that page get published to RBI unless the human in the loop really reviews the rate that is entered correctly. The calculations that we have on our calculators that you see on the web pages are reflecting that rate. The policy documents are updated. That's why I can aid agent to do the digital labor, but not the cognitive labor. So I'm just trying to give an example and how we are implementing agent with human in the loop, what Vinit was saying, and one of the parameters to be used.
I think that was brilliantly put at
I also want to give an example. Maulik mentioned that, right? So I want to give a real life example from one of our financial clients, right? Where human in the loop is being considered. So this is another good example, right? In the financial industry, for any lending or for any insurance, there is an underwriter process, Right? So today, underwriter has to go through lots and lots of documents, notes, everything, which is a very time-consuming process. And then the decision is made whether to approve the loan, whether to approve the insurance. Right? How we improve the faster decision making for the underwriter. So what we do is we give them a field generated AI summary field from Agentforce, right? So what does that field generated field summary field does is it scans through all the documents and everything, all entire application form, and generates a summary for the underwriter. Now tell me how easy it is for the underwriter to make the decision. Will your business process cycle time improve? If an underwriter is taking 2 days, the decision will be faster by 50%, right? So while the human is in the loop, the underwriter is still taking the decision, but that summary is helping the underwriter to take the decision faster. That is how you should develop your AI blocks, right?
Correct. And I think the rhetorics behind expecting something as soon as 1 year, within 1 year, or stipulated or superficially stipulated timeline is only superficial in its own nature. So that's the reason whenever I put something through for 1 year or there was some serious rhetorics behind it, and I think the panel themselves have put through very clearly how actual thing will rather be implicated. Now, before we come to the last question, and I'm pretty sure we generated enough curiosity for all the people to ask some questions. We started off, I'll just bring everyone to context, we started off with role representation and how it integrates with trading pixels and how the enthusiasts. We talked about the pragmatics of enterprise implications. We talked about ROI, we talked about governance, we talked about realism, about how soon or how it will be more journey oriented when you go process by process, function by function. Now this is the last question implicates on the again pragmatics of when we talk about human factorial with AI adaptation and what truly means to the budding technologists in the real-time context in upcoming years. So I would rather want Vinit to start with that part on how we want to implicate this thing eventually with the human factor on the technology standpoint and to working along with the AI.
Okay. See, what I see in future is today in our organization we have a corporate structure. You have a sales manager, you have sales assistants, right? And then the director at the top, right? Similarly, we will have an organization structure of the AI bots as well, right? In fact, the roles which are doing all mundane and repetitive tasks are definitely going to eliminate. And the future I see is also the AI human collaboration which we are talking about, right? So humans are, going to elevate themselves to do more productive, more strategic, innovative work, which eventually is, going to drive the business growth for any organization. But the mundane task, right? For example, even in future you will see an AI bot talking to another AI bot. I can give an example. There's a AI sales assistant, right? So he has converted a lead, and then that sales assistant is talking to another AI legal for generating a contract for the customer. Then he's also talking with another fulfillment AI bot to package the product and ship it, right? So these are all going to be an connected digital AI enterprise. But having said that, humans, they will work in collaboration with humans, definitely. But humans are the ones who are going to do work which is not mundane. That's my thinking.
On the collaboration part.
So I think this is a very interesting thing because we can't predict the future. Okay, tomorrow maybe the panelists are robots was sitting and answering some of these questions based on what is the viewpoint across the world and all of this. Right? So I think it's very. I mean, as of today, we have to use the power of AI in terms of pattern analysis, in terms of all the data that you have, and where we can really do well is take all that ready-made solution and work on that. For example, in real life, if you're looking at something like what happened a couple of days back, there was an airlines which had a problem where they had to cancel a lot of flights. Okay, now that's a real problem that has happened. Now what AI could probably do is look at their customers, get all the data, come up with a thing that okay, for this response I need to first listen to them. That AI may not be able to do today. Okay, so the human has to first listen to the customer, then should make use of AI to make sure that they have a good response rate. They have using AI assistant to making sure that they have a good response. Plus, they have to understand the context of what is happening, around the customer. What is happening? Not every customer comes from the same background. Everyone has a different context at that point in time. So right now, as of today, humans have that advantage where they know the context as well. Tomorrow we don't know. I mean, tomorrow we don't know if AI is going to, do something magical or whatever. But today, context, listening, empathy, these are skills which humans have, and we have to use that and really use AI as assistants like both Maulik and Vinit have been saying.
I think I don't have much to add, but I would say it's always going to be a hybrid model. As simple as this. The scale and maturity of hybrid model is where you will decide what kind of task you are doing. It's as simple as this. If it's a simple task, it would be last mile human interval. It is very cognitive and very algorithmic or very business function oriented. It would be more of hybrid 50-50. So I think it's going to be a hybrid model. The scale can be 0 to 100, the way you want it.
There has been pretty much previous conversation on lot many attributes, and I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of questions that might be running fast. So I wanted to lead this time too. And
I want to ask a question.
I read it in your eyes actually. Read it up.
So,
Maybe have to bypass one part.
It's been a good conversation. Thank you, Maulik, Vivek. I have two questions. One is from a learning side. If I'm a developer, if I'm an architect, if I'm doing a pre-sales, is there, so Agentforce for developers is fine. My question is, on a learning side, is there a way where there is a set benchmark or set thing that to get yourself involved in Agentforce, these are 1, 2, 3 points that you should definitely know? Question 1. And 2 is, so I interact a lot with C-level stakeholders. What they ask is, for example, let's consider a real estate sector. So real estate sector has, let's say, marketing, pre-sales, sales, post-sales department. An average Salesforce implementation takes maybe around 9-10 months or 1 year. Their question is, after Agentforce, how much time you will take? My question is there a way, a framework, or a process where we can define generally if now Agentforce being implemented for your, let's say for example, for a pre-sales division, where there is a customer support team. Let's say pre-sales took around, let's say, 2 months, 3 months time after implementing Agentforce. So and so time will take. My question is there a framework or process or a benchmark where I can answer that? Sorry, it's confusing, but
No, it's okay. I can take the first part. Second part is something you guys can take it. I think for learning, we were forced. Let me be very clear. We were forced to a certain extent that we were said that if you don't adopt AI, you're not going to have a job. I mean, to be very frank, that's what the mandate that we gave in Bajaj 2 years back, when ChatGPT 3 was launched. So that's first is the rigor within yourself. That is very important, right? Now, coming to the learning bit, I think you can ask yourself this to ChatGPT itself. And I have learned it that way. So, I learned prompting with them by chatting with them for hours. And when I used to learn prompting, I learned it by non-contextual capabilities. Now, what does a non-contextual capabilities means is, just to put it in a lighter way, LLM was a genie, is to forget. Right? You have to help him understand again. And then you again mature it to a level of conversation and then you learn more. When I started doing this. But now they know the context. They are able to build up, saying that what you going to start conversation on and how you build up. So, what I would say is, if you want to learn, let's assume, how to use Agentforce, if you want to just learn and understand. But just give a good background. I am this is what I have been doing. Explain it to him as if you are explaining to a friend or to a professor. And then he will understand, okay, it will start his learning side, it will get into academics, and that's where you can build up a plan. So that's one way of learning. But now the other way of learning is YouTube videos, very much there. You can paste a YouTube video into Notebook LLM, it will generate a summary for you. It will also generate a path of learning out of that for you. So Notebook LLM is also very interesting way of summarizing and learning if you want to learn fast. But I think it's not that difficult, frankly, and I think the most important point is that it is very, very interactive. So it's not something you just घंटे तक एक lecture सुनो और बाद में उसका question paper का prepare करो. So I think that's the beauty of learning from learning. It is interest part. It's your adoption.
No, I completely agree that learning is very, very different now, and it is a journey for everyone, which is individual. But in terms of Agentforce specifically, you have to understand the Einstein trust layer very well. Okay, I mean that is a concept which you have to learn. I mean topics, actions, ये सब तो easy है. मतलब you can do it, but you really have to understand that that is the question that customers will ask you, that what happens to my data, what are you doing with PII and all of that. So you really have to, from a learning point of view, focus on the trust layer. Make sure that you understand the concept of what is zero data retention, no training LLMs, all those things. Because that if you are convinced about those factors, you'll automatically start working well. So you have to understand that aspect very well, more than the hands-on topics, actions, and all of that, because that helps your conversation with your customers. And the other thing is about you asked about kitna time lagega. Very common question. All customers want that implementation. Abhi to Agentforce and now it has to be faster. That's what. There was a time when in the service industry we would go and say that ek saal ho gaya, there is a rate revision that we have to do. Yeah. Now the customers are coming and saying, no, now you have AI agents. Now you give us a discount on what you are doing. But the serious thing is that we have to start using these agents and look at tools around us, explore. Of course, in the framework of governance, in the framework of making sure there is no compliance miss and all of that. But in that framework, we have to identify tools, look at where you can use, let's say, an architect agent. Okay, and we recently worked with a product connected to Salesforce and Jira. And what we tried to do is we gave the requirements, our meeting notes and everything to that agent. And surprisingly, it gave us a lot more options than what the architects were thinking, because the architects come with a bias, they come with an experience which they have, okay, but the agents have a collective experience of a lot of architects. So that is where I think the roles are going to change and efficiency is going to come in, but we all have to keep learning. Whichever way you want to do, there are a lot of ways, but you always have to keep learning. And it's a good sign that all of you are coming, spending a Saturday, coming and attending a community event, because that itself shows that you are interested in finding what is important.
Totally agree. So on the second point, And I mean, definitely all clients will to expedite their deliveries with the AI. And see, there are a lot of tools, AI tools in the market, right? So for any organization, whether it's a services company or whether it's a global delivery center or whatever, they have to identify their tools. There are thousands of tools. So first and the foremost thing is identify the right tools which can deliver you value and which can help you to deliver faster delivery, right? That is the first step. I can take some examples of this, right? You have Gemini from Google. Then anybody heard about Notebook LLM, right? So see, every organization will have a different set of tools. They will, you have to do your pros and cons, and then you have to set guidelines, and every organization has a separate set of tools. But those are the tools which will then help you to answer that question: how fast we can deliver. Why? Because these are the tools where you can feed in your, all the unstructured data, and believe me, these are the tools which can create user stories for you. These are the tools which can generate and initiate a design. And again, as you said, right, there are certain lenses which sometimes we as architects, we are humans, right? So we might miss. But agents come with many lenses. So their designs are a good way to start. Of course, then there has to be mature. There are tools which can generate test cases, right? So if such artifacts we get, right, can you not expedite the project timelines? Yes, definitely. Right, as a project manager, I can definitely put in a plan which is more expedited. So probably that's what any organization should look towards, and I'm sure the delivery timelines will improve in future. Time to market is only going to accelerate.
I wish to ask one question, but maybe if after everybody asks the question, I can take. But maybe I can first help my both the questions.
Yeah, I think
maybe I wanted to ask this.
Time to market, I think is a conversation which is good, but I think customer patience is what we've not sold good. I'll tell you what. I told my tech team, I want this, you get it done for me. Something like, I give you the requirements, I give you stuff, I give you Figma, I give you everything, you get to the code ready, get to the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, logic ready. All I need is two developers to do the integration and the module is ready. That's what I expected them to do. This is 3 months old. For us to do that, it took us about 6 months. Right? So I think time to market is not a conversation for now. It is forecasted to reduce, but the time to patience has increased exponentially for the time to market to reduce. So when you want to manage your customers or something, they have to have that level of grit of patience that it's going to be a lot of retrials.
Any questions?
So I have 2 things to share. One was the Agentforce vibes that you mentioned. So just 2 days back I took a workshop and they told about the Agentforce vibe ID. And in that we were explaining, it's available on like developer.salesforce.com. So they had given a use case where we had to develop entire class, LWC, everything with Agentforce vibe. It just took hardly 2 minutes. To be precise, 1 minute 20 seconds. And everything was done. There was just one error which I had to debug, was in the CSS of the LWC. So which took me around 20 minutes to just resolve that. So you can see, if I would have taken that work manually, it would have taken me around at least 8 hours or 12 hours to complete that. But then it just got resolved in 30 minutes. So that's not a future anymore. That's one thing that I would like to share. The other is, I have a question. When we say we train the LLM on the data, and then we also talk about the Einstein trust layer, so nothing is getting stored, like zero retention policy and everything is there. But then, are these both concepts not conflicting with each other? When we say when we provide more data to LLM, it gets trained, it gets better. But then no data is getting stored in there. Then how is it getting better?
So that's where the RAG comes in, where you need a data store.
That's where the RAG comes in. So RAG is nothing but a database for the LLM. So you still give the context, but what you do is the RAG, the database that you use to store the information for RAG is within your GDPR boundaries, within your guidelines. Now, context to be remembered for an LLM, you cannot remember a long context. That's what I have seen so far. Like when we used to run it on our GitHub repo, we used to lose the context. We used to take 400, 500, 600 lines. Then when I start putting external dependencies on it, we used to isolate. That's where the repo also has to have a RAG-related approach. And people have not really understood RAG. We still have not understood RAG, though we implemented RAG, because RAG is evolving at a pace where it is very difficult to keep a tab on it. What chunking strategy you need, how do you want to retrieve, how do you want to rebuild it, how do you want to index it, what kind of attribute you should put within the RAG. So, to answer your question, context is always given. The memory that it has stored is something that you have to tailor make based on what your use cases.
Just to add to this, what's your name?
Ashwin.
Ashwin. So, when we use Agentforce and send data to Agentforce, we will never say Ashwini will not pass that data to Agentforce or the LLM.
So PIIs will not be
PII will never go. That is how you make sure that no PII data is going into LLMs. The other thing is you're always grounding everything. So LLMs are learning that okay, this is the customer set, this is the data set, and they are learning on that. But they are not learning on specific data points that and that is what all implementers have to be very careful about when we implement, because this is all part of governance, making sure that you are not compromising on any of this, because it's very easy to sway and do some things for shortcut, for quick remedy. You pass on a lot of data, but it may not be the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, right? Actually, you talked about data mastery initially. So, when you ground your data, as implementers, it is very important for us to identify that clearly and mask it. Right? So that way your data is secure.
So I think any more queries, otherwise we've got one question. Let's be quick, we've got only 5 minutes left.
Thank you.
With the respect of the time.
I believe in so the question is like, this is not from a technology standpoint, but from a business standpoint. Considering India is the biggest exporter of IT services, and now the introduction of AI and other things, the customer also knows that we are using AI for development and other things, which will eventually impact the deep size by that 20 to 30% that will eventually cause a loss of business or less billing to the customer. So going forward, how this overall is going to impact the landscape of the service industry present in? I think that's for
Yeah, so this is my view, and I mentioned that earlier. See, whenever your legacy roles go away, new roles emerge. Remember that, right? Our parents, right, who have been working in banking industry or our grandparents, right? They were doing writing passports manually. Is that job they existing? No. Still, bank jobs are there, right? So always new roles emerge. A few of them which are in my mind is you get new roles like AI governance, AI security, right? So kind of when new old roles go on, new roles emerge, and that's how the industry is.
What's right? just one thing, all of us, many of us come from a tech background. Okay? And I think in the new area where, we have to compete with others, we have to develop that business mindset. We have to understand what is that the customer needs. Okay? And we were having this conversation earlier, and that is where all of us have to change into having more, because there is there are a lot of tools to do what we are doing today. Okay, writing test classes, you don't need to write a test class now, you can just put it in a prompt. So you have to really evolve in each of the roles that you are currently doing and be more business focused. Only then you will survive, because this is going to be a crisis for the service industry, I feel, in some time to come.
I think जब .com बबल हुआ था 2000 में, राइट, जब वेब आया था तो ये बोला था कि जो भी ऑफलाइन चीजें चल रही है वो नहीं होगी, पर वेब ने पकड़ लिया, वेब पे लोग ऑफलाइन कर दिए, फिर ऐप आई, ये लोग ऐप पे करने वेब बंद हो जाए, फिर वेब तो चल रहा है, राइट, ऐप भी चल रहा है, और अभी एआई आ रहा है, तो एआई भी अपना कहीं ना कहीं एक फोटे बनाएगा, बट ये सोचना कि काम चले जाएगा ये नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होगा. There would always be, I think, job will increase, frankly, but not for the tasks that you are doing. That's what I'm trying to say. It's for the new skills that you are doing. As simple as this.
Just to add to this, in our organization as well, right, we are moving into the course, Agentforce and Bajaj, and that's what I think Vinit and we move forward, and I think we may active with that. And like Maulik said, right, the roles will be merged, right? When the developers will become SMEs and experts in the domain and industry, and that's how it's going to go. And this is where we see a future down the line, 3 years, 5 years, when people who are working on a couple of industry or having the expertise towards it, and they have hands-on on the agentic AI or Agentforce, they will take more advantage, and I think that's how the future will go.
But then, sir, I guess it was a fantastic session. I think a lot of information has come through. We'd like to conclude this and thank the panelists for sharing some fantastic pointers out here. And I'll have Fahad to quickly have felicitation for edited. So Fahad, over to you. Like, can we have a good round of applause for all?
Thank you to all the panelists and Kirit sir, especially to you for moderating the session. We will not waste more time, but we know that we have extended a lot. But we have a felicitation for each and every one of you. Basically, I would request Mr. Nilesh Kankare to present. So, please come on the dais once. Mr. Vivek Balagangadharan. I request Mr. Nilesh Kankare to step forward, please. Please keep the applause continuing. And Mr. Kirit Mandavgane, please come back. Please felicitate Mr. Vinit, Patni, for joining us today.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you everyone for joining us today for these sessions. I hope you might have liked it.